Welcome, everyone. This is the Music News Power Hour from the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. Stay tuned. We are beginning our countdown shortly, and then we are going into our headlines of the day. Today's Music News Power Hour is breaking headlines pertaining to the music industry. All the music news that is fit to listen to and discuss. Make sure that you use the plus sign at the bottom of the room to ping your friends into the room so that they can join the discussion, listen to today's headlines, and stay up to date. You can follow your moderators by touching each of the profiles of the speakers on the stage with the green moderator icon, and join the club by touching the greenhouse at the top of the room. Make sure that you join the discussion by raising your hand. We would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for joining today's News Power Hour. Stay tuned. We are starting our countdown shortly. I love it. I love it. Ping your friends into the room. Hi, Angela. How you doing?
Hi, Eli. So nice to see you. How was your weekend?
Can't complain. What can I say? Oh, look at this. We are starting our countdown into today's Music News Power Hour. Here we go.
It's Monday, the 14th of June, and this is the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwing, and please join me in welcoming my co-host Eli Window and our UK correspondent Angela Randall. How you doing?
Doing great today. Doing great. Happy to be here. How you doing, Angela?
Hello, hello. Enjoying the sunny sunshine. That's a rare one for us. Back to the
Right
studio.
on. All right, in today's news, Sony's historic move, NMPA and Roblox boxing match goes into more rounds. The UK says 4 more weeks before you can party again. SVOG delay updates. The CRB raises royalty rates, but did they raise them enough? And as always, we have this day in music with Eli Window. So those stories are coming up, and let's check in with Eli for this day in music history.
All right, let's go ahead and check in on this day in music history. In memory, from this day, June 14th, 1989, Pete de Freitas, drummer with Echo and the Bunnymen, was killed at the age of 27 when his motorbike collided with a car. In memory. Also in memory from this date, 1994, composer Henry Mancini died, age 70, one of my personal favorites. In memory. And also in memory from this date, June 14th, 2000, American pianist and session musician Paul Griffin died, aged 62. He recorded with hundreds of musicians from the 1950s to the 1990s. Moving on, birthdays today, June 14th, 1949, born English drummer and songwriter Alan White, best known for his tenure in the progressive rock band Yes! And also born this date, 1961, English singer, songwriter, DJ, fashion designer, and photographer George O'Dowd, aka Boy George. And born this date, 1963, Chris DeGarmo with American progressive heavy metal band Queenshire. Happy birthday. Moving on, this day in history, June 14th, 2002, Mick Jagger became a Sir when he was knighted in the Queen's birthday honors. It was claimed that the Queen avoided personally giving Jagger his knighthood because she thought he was an inappropriate candidate for the honor. However, Mick Jagger became a Sir when he was knighted on this date, 2002. Moving on this date, 2019, Britney Spears was granted a permanent restraining order against her former manager, Stan Lufty, who looked after her career from 2007 to 2008. A judge granted a 5-year order forbidding Lufty from contacting Britney Spears and her relatives and from making disparaging comments about them online. The singer's father, Jamie Spears, told the court how Lufty had been a quote-unquote predator on his family for over 10 years, and he was worried about Lufty's potential influence. And that's it for On This Day in History. Moving back to you, Peter.
Right on. All right. Thank you for that. You know, it's always I really enjoy this day in history because I've learned more about singers' real names when you announce their birthdays, like, it's like so and so's, 5-word name, also known as Steve. So I really enjoy this. And welcome, everybody. This is where we summarize the most essential news in this fast-paced music industry. I'd like to also thank everyone who is viewing the show in AltSpace VR and on our live stream. How you doing, everybody? Feel free to join in the chat. To stay up to date and this and other programming, follow the Music Industry City group by tapping the greenhouse at the top, and you can register for free at musicindustrycity.com to attain access to exclusive content. And remember to follow all of our Green Button co-hosts and commentators as they take the stage. And now let's get to it. All right, and this first piece is from Music Business Worldwide. You can access the program notes at musicindustrycity.com to view all of the headlines mentioned in today's episode and throughout the week. So if you want to play along at home, you can go to the show notes. Just go to musicindustrycity.com, click on the show notes graphic, and you have all the headlines. This one starts off, Primary Wave raises $375 million investment from Oak Tree Capital, and it sells a minority stake. The company has finalized what it calls a strategic relationship with funds managed by Oak Tree Capital Management. Oak Tree Capital has committed to invest up to $375 million into Primary Wave Music in exchange for a minority interest in the music company. Primary Wave has raised over $800 million in the past 4 years via 2 IP funds, a $300 million fund in 2016 backed by BlackRock, and a further $500 million plus fund launched last year. As of today, Primary Wave owns a substantial interest in the song catalogs of icons such as Ray Charles, Bob Marley, Whitney Houston, Burt Bacharach, Smokey Miles, Robinson, The Four Seasons, and Fleetwood Mac's Stevie Nicks. In November last year, speaking on the Music Business Worldwide podcast, Primary Wave's founder and CEO Larry Mistel revealed that Primary Wave was, quote, finishing off that $500 million plus second fund. Citing with people with knowledge of the matter, Bloomberg reported that Oak Tree Capital investment coincides with the closing of Primary Wave's yet unannounced third fund. Those same sources tell Primary Wave that the investment, quote, sets the stage for Primary Wave to consider a public offering of its fund operation. In a media statement, Oak Tree says that it will, quote, help strengthen Primary Wave's financial positioning as an asset manager of iconic music, and the substantial funding will add to Primary Wave's already formidable war chest for future catalog acquisitions. After completing the Oak Tree deal, Primary Wave says that it now manages $1.5 billion in cash and assets. So again, there's a lot of quotes there. This is a really interesting time. I haven't seen this kind of gold rush in many years in the music industry. I mean, the last few years have been on fire, and talks of going public, SPACs. I mean, that's a word that, or an acronym that people are just starting to learn about. I mean, we've gone from 10 years ago there was like 2 of them to like 3 years ago there was maybe 25, and then in the last year there's been hundreds. So is this going to be another SPAC? Is this going to be another reverse IPO? We don't know. But it's just interesting to see there is a lot of money and a lot of catalog changing hands. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this shakes out. And speaking of rates, this one is from the Copyright Royalty Board. This is on radioworld.com. And it says the CRB raises webcasting royalty rates. Minimum rate for non-com webcasters doubles to $1,000. Webcasting royalty rates in the United States have just gone up, including a doubling of the minimum annual payment for non-commercial webcasters. The copyright royalty judges on Friday announced new rates for webcasters for 2021 through 2025. The rate for commercial non-subscription services in 2021 will be $21,000 per performance, up from $18,000 last year. For commercial subscription services, it will be up 26 from 24. Rates for the ensuing 4 years will be tweaked based on the Consumer Price Index. The rate for non-commercial webcasters except educational has doubled to $1,000 a year per station or channel for transmissions totaling up to totaling up to 159,140 aggregate tuning hours in a month. If a non-com webcaster goes beyond that number on a given channel or station, the per-performance fee this year is 20.0021 for the additional transmissions, up from 0.0018. Again, it may change in 2022 to 2025 based on the CPI. Webcasters will have some back payment to make as a result. The Copyright Royalty Board has delayed issuing its rates for the new 5-year period until spring. Commercial and non-commercial webcasters were told by Sound Exchange to use 2020 rates in the meantime, but that adjustments would be retroactive to January 1st. Note that rates for other categories, non-commercial, education, webcaster, satellite radio, audio for business establishments, and certain others, are on a different calendar cycle, so their 2021 rates were already known. And you can find out more at the Sound Exchange website. I think, one of the things, this is always good when there's more money being paid out, but I know Sound Exchange was looking for more, hoping for more. But you're going to probably see, you can find some more. I'm sure there's going to be some responses from the industry as this rolls out across media. In other news of big deals happening, this is from Music Business Worldwide. In historic move, Sony Music is disregarding unrecouped balances for heritage catalog artists. If some of you caught this coming into the weekend, but this is big. This is a bold move by Sony. So it says they have made an announcement that will be talked about the music business for years to come. For some time, influential voices in the industry have called for the unrecouped balances of heritage artists to be written off by record labels. This would see modern-day royalty earnings of these acts get paid into their pockets rather than being swallowed by a record label with whom they have ended dealings decades ago. That is especially true in many cases for heritage black artists. Last summer, during industry-wide discussions surrounding Blackout Tuesday, veteran U.S. artist manager and attorney Ron Sweeney called on the major record companies to implement a number of new policies in a strong op-ed for Music Business Worldwide. He said, quote, with respect to black artists signed to you prior to 2000 that are no longer signed to your companies, zero out their unrecouped royalty balances and let their royalties flow to them so they can support themselves. Many in the music industry never thought we'd see a day where a major record company openly embraced such a plan. In a letter sent to thousands of artists and obtained by Music Business Worldwide, Sony Music Entertainment has announced the launch of a new initiative called Artists Forward, which it says focuses on, quote, prioritizing transparency with creators in all aspects of their development. This landmark new policy under Artists Forward is called the Legacy Unrecouped Balance Program. The letter confirms, quote, as part of our continuing focus on developing new financial opportunities for creators, we will no longer apply existing unrecouped balances to artists and participant earnings generated on or after January 1st, 2021 for eligible artists and participants globally who signed to SME prior to the year 2000 and have not received an advance from the year 2000 forward. Through this program, we are not modifying existing contracts, but choosing to pay through an existing unrecouped balances to increase the ability of those who qualify to receive more money from their uses of music. So basically what it means in practice is Sony is effectively writing off disregarding unrecouped balances going forward for qualifying artists. And the main reason the balances will technically remain on Sony's ledger, they understand, is if an artist has reversion rights tied to recoupment. In order to track when the reversion will occur in these cases, Sony will monitor when the qualifying artist would have recouped if the firm had not been flowing through royalties. There's a lot more that goes on in here. It's a great, deep article. This was like really nice reading. I like this one going into the weekend. I know Eli, you have some feelings about this one, as I can see in the video stream here.
I'm having all the feelings. For those of you who are joining us on the video stream, I know that Peter can see me when some of you cannot, but I have my hands in front of my chest in gratitude on this. There are heritage artists who are desperate to recoup these unclaimed earnings, and this will make such a difference for them. And so this article is such an encouragement and so exciting for me. I don't know if anyone else feels the same. I want to encourage you to raise your hand or chime in the chat and join the discussion if you feel as I do and you think this or any of the other headlines that we're discussing today are exciting. I'm really excited by this, and I want to see more do right actions by labels happening this way. This is so encouraging.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of this one because I know quite a few second and third generation folks who have now taken up the reins from their parents or grandparents that worked in the business, and there's quite a sour taste in their mouths because of some not so great contracts and not so great arrangements that were put in front of them before the commonplace process of making sure you get an attorney, have an agent, have a manager handy to help you walk through all these things. It was just about, here's some money, folks, and they took it willingly because they thought their day was made. And then, they were sort of stuck upside down for almost the entirety of their career, and it's kind of breathed new life into their legacy and given them a way to see through to the next generation in a more positive way, right, as opposed to always damning the man.
That's so true. And I think that it's so much more than even looking at keeping the heritage of the music alive. We are looking at putting food on the table and roofs over the heads of people's children so that they can make this art that's so important. And so I'm so excited by this article and by so many more of the headlines that we're looking at today in the Music News Power Hour.
Yeah, and in addition to this, if we go down, it's like another, at least one leading independent label group in the music business has led the way in wiping unrecouped balances for heritage artists. And that's Beggars Group, which is home to XL, 4AD, Matador, and others, and has for some time wiped off all unrecouped credit on advances 15 years after the firm's active relationship with an artist ends, meaning after the last record of an agreed contract is released. And in 2016, Beggars co-founder and chairman Martin Mills challenged the major labels to emulate this policy 20 years after their own active relationship with each artist comes to close. And basically, it sums up today, Sony Music met that challenge. I had the pleasure of meeting Rob Stringer a few months ago. Well, actually, a year ago at this point. I don't even remember. It was a while ago. It was in person. Just had a conversation with him, and there was just something. I met him and his family, and he just gets it. Like, there's something about him that there's one of those vibes that's like, he wants to make things happen for the artist. He really, truly believes in the artist, and you just get this vibe from him that, I've been watching a lot of things that he's doing, and as with many of us, and I think, I got to say, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of what's been happening at Sony for the last couple of years. What I'm not a fan of is the NMPA hits back at Roblox response to copyright lawsuit. All right. And this one is in Complete Music Update. I'm going to read this. This is Chris Cook. So if anybody is familiar with Chris's writing, there could be some snark thrown in there. So I am going to read this with his full snark. So I'm not even going to paraphrase what he is saying. And it starts off, the U.S. music publishers fundamentally misunderstand how online gaming platform Roblox operates, or at least so reckons online the gaming platform Roblox, which also insists it fulfills all its commitments under U.S. copyright law in dealings with copyright complaints, while adding that opportunities abound within its super-duper metaverse if only the fucking music publishers would get themselves into the 21st century and stop filing fucking lawsuits. That's directly from the article here. That's how we're starting off. Let's bring it on for this Monday. And Chris goes on to say, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but only slightly. The publishers, meanwhile, reckon fucking Roblox should just fucking get itself some fucking licenses. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing still, but only slightly. I like Chris. Let's get into this article. The U.S. National Music Publishers Association announced during its general meeting last week that a consortium of its members had filed a $200 million lawsuit against Roblox. The gaming platform NMPA boss David Israelite declared has, quote, made hundreds of millions of dollars by requiring users to pay every time they upload music onto the platform, taking advantage of young people's lack of understanding about copyright, and they take they take virtually no action to prevent repeat infringement or alert users to the risks they are taking. The day after the NMPA meeting, Roblox issued a statement saying it was, quote, surprised and disappointed about the litigation, which represents a fundamental misunderstanding of how the Roblox platform operates. The gaming platform added that it would defend itself, quote, vigorously as we work to achieve a fair resolution. When it comes to managing and removing copyright protected material uploaded to its platform without license, Roblox insisted it complies with all its obligations under the U.S. DMCA. As a platform powered by a community of creators, we are passionate about protecting intellectual property rights from independent artists and songwriters to music labels and publishers, and require all Roblox community members to abide by our community rules. And they go on to say, we do not tolerate copyright infringement, it adds, which is why we use industry-leading advanced filtering technology to detect and prohibit unauthorized recordings. The company also expeditiously responds to takedown requests issued under the aforementioned DMCA, insisted. All right, so and they go on, we are committed to continue to partner with the music industry to unlock new creative and commercial opportunities for artists and songwriters through virtual merchandise, exclusive virtual concerts, launch parties, and more. So some in the music industry have, of course, been looking at platforms like Roblox as useful new marketing channels in the short term and possible revenue generators in the long term. And Warner Music has been looking into such things with sufficient interest that it invested in the Roblox company ahead of its stock market listing earlier this year. So certainly Israelite was impressed by Roblox's response. He told Variety, quote, having some deals with some labels and publishers to host music events is in no way legally adequate when you operate a massive platform to which music is integral. Simply announcing community rules and trying to hide behind the DMCA are not sufficient when there are hundreds of thousands of songs being utilized every day without compensating copyright holders. Roblox suggesting that we fundamentally misunderstand how they use music is like a bank robber caught in the act telling the bank it fundamentally misunderstands money. Gloves are off. I mean, and this is, it's, we looked at this and what's going on with Twitch. That was last year's, and NMPA had the Twitch had the target in the back, still wearing that Target T-shirt, and now we've been waiting for this for what's happening in VR, the metaverses, all that. There's a lot going on. It's hard to police. It's hard to, go into, like, I can create a room and I can just DJ something. And, how is this going to be monitored? And these are all new platforms and different services. So, it's got to be, is there an easier way? Anybody have any thoughts on this?
It's really annoying that these companies that have the finances and the personnel to be able to make some deals and make it happen and do better for their users who are basically providing all of their content are really just taking the low road on this and not doing what it's the right thing to do. I mean, if they owned a bar or restaurant and all of their customers who were coming in to have their food and have their drinks, were also listening to the music playing over the speakers in the place, they'd have to pay for the licensing for it, regardless of whether or not the people in the room are listening to the music or not, like the music or not, chose the music or not. That's just the right thing to do. And the fact that they have all of these people coming into their bar and eating their food and drinking their drinks and throwing darts at their dartboard, and they're not willing to pick up the fee to make the atmosphere that much more enjoyable by paying music licenses, is just not on. That's where I'm sitting with it.
Don't forget, if you know someone who has more insight on this headline or any of the headlines that we're covering today, you can ping them into the room, use the plus sign, or you can chime in on chat and let us know your thoughts here at the Music News Power Hour.
Right on. Yep. Rachel, you raised your hand. Is there something that your thoughts on this topic?
I did. Hey, everybody. Talking in from Tallahassee, Florida. I'm a songwriter. And my thoughts are that where is the money going? Because if this stuff is being played and there's no specific income, there's no required donation, there's no even a mention of a product being mentioned. It's just marketing and benefit for the actual artists themselves, right?
In what way do you mean marketing for the artists? Like artists like having music performed on the platform?
Right. So, for instance, if somebody is DJing on Clubhouse and Clubhouse exclusively, there's no product that's being sold there. It's not like in the context of a restaurant where someone is making money off of the drinks that are being sold and the environment. There is no product. So, at that point, the only product is the advertisement of that song, as far as I understand.
We're talking about Roblox and previously Twitch, which do make money because their content creators are they are basically shilling their currency, their in-app currency, which I believe, Peter, you know this better than I do as a content creator, but I believe content creators sort of encourage their audience to buy things like subscriptions and use their channel points and things like that to engage with the program, which means that those content creators make money, but Twitch takes obviously a portion of it. I think there's ads on Twitch as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there's ads on Twitch, annoying ads, 30-second forced pre-roll to even see a channel. I won't even get into that. But yeah, and if you look at it, if you were to use the Clubhouse model as well, saying it's like, well, there's not really necessarily money being exchanged, but they opened up an economy in here where I can DJ and you can tip me. You can hit the tip jar. And Clubhouse, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Clubhouse doesn't take a cut of that, or am I thinking Spotify's not taking a cut of subscriptions?
I'm pretty sure Clubhouse doesn't take a cut,
Right,
if I remember the town hall right, Peter. So yeah, you were right on that.
So that,
Right.
but what's the financial incentive for Clubhouse? More people on here, more investors, and then figure out how to monetize in the back end. Billions of dollars of valuation. So. All right. Thank you for that. And Eli, why don't we kick over to you for the weather?
All right, let's take a look at the weather. Some of our viewers are reporting heavy rains. Heavy rains have caused high waters in some area. Remember to swim out to your ship if your ship does not come in to you. Make sure you swim out to your ship if it doesn't come into you. Also, want to make sure that you ping your friends into the room. Your friends are going to join our discussion just as much as you will. We have a discussion here in the Music News Power Hour over each headline, and we also have our Friday discussion where we look at all of our headlines and cover a special edition. So be sure to use the plus sign at the bottom of the room to ping your friends into the room just in case they are not following the Music News Power Hour. You can also follow your moderators in this room. These are the speakers on stage with the green moderator icon. And be sure to tap the greenhouse at the top of the room so that you follow the club, Music Industry City, here on Clubhouse. You can also follow our web. You can also, join us on our website, musicindustrycity.com, where you can follow along at home with all of the headlines that we are covering today. Tap on the show notes icon so that you tap in with all of our headlines here today. And if there's anything that we missed, do feel free to contact us and reach out on our website. And at this time, I want to check in with our UK correspondent, Angela Randall. Angela, what's the good word?
Oh, not a good word today, I'm afraid. This one comes to us from Music Week. The headline says 4-week delay to full reopening of venues, devastating for live music industry. The remaining COVID-19 restrictions are to remain in place for another 5 weeks in England. The live sector has been braced for the return of full capacity performances on the 21st of June, based on the government's roadmap out of the pandemic restrictions. However, the coronavirus rules will now be extended by 4 weeks beyond that June 21st date, according to the BBC and other media outlets. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is set to confirm the delay in a 6 p.m. announcement. For those of you not keeping score, that's in about a half an hour from now. The delay will allow more people to be vaccinated amidst concerns about the increasing infections, which are being driven by the Delta variant, also known as the variant that's come from India. But the move is a huge blow to the live sector, which is currently only able to operate shows with social distancing and limited capacities. Greg Parmley, CEO Live, said the briefing we are seeing of a delay to our reopening later this month is devastating to the live music industry. Our research shows that a delay of a month would lead to the cancellation of over 5,000 planned events, costing our industry hundreds of millions of pounds. Live music fears being left behind and irreversibly damaged as countries such as the Netherlands, Denmark, Israel, the United States, and Belgium announced they will begin running large full full capacity live events this summer. There's a few other quotes here from those, and you can certainly read the article. Everybody has a weigh in, but one of my favorite folks that contributes on this is Michael Kill, who is the CEO of Nighttime Industries Association. He chimes in with, distressed industries cannot continue to be held in limbo. As businesses are left to fall, any decision to delay without clarity on when they can open will leave us no other option but to challenge the government, standing alongside many other industries who've been locked down or restricted from opening for an extreme length of time through no fault of their own and at their own cost. The NTIA is calling for urgent measures, including extensions to the restriction grant for businesses providing financial support, VAT relief, business rates relief, as well as events and festival insurance cover. In Scotland, restrictions are set to lift on 28th of June. Limits on indoor gatherings in Northern Ireland will be eased on the 21st of June as scheduled, while rules in Wales will be reviewed on the 25th of June. And just not to end on a down note, happy birthday, Boy George. I'll love you forever. Back to you, Peter.
Angela, let's talk a little bit more. What has been going on in the past week and then some with MPs not showing up to inquiries? I mean, it's a lot of people have been skirting the issue and not wanting to address this head on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to use blue language, especially since we're recording and streaming live. Hello to everybody in the live stream. But it just sucks in plain English. I mean, the reality of what's going on is that every time they have to make a new announcement because a new variant has gotten a bit out of control, they always wait until the last minute to do it, which means that like these industries have complained, it's just not on. People are starting to make deposits and pay vendors and book venues and all sorts of things, and then you give them 1 week to potentially have to reorganize everything, change everything. They did the same thing to us at Christmas. They said everybody can go and see their families and this and that. And half the country was told a week before Christmas that they could no longer travel and could no longer socialize. I mean, it's just not my favorite way of breaking the bad news. And I'm sure the MPs are a bit sick of it themselves because their hands are slightly tied, which is why I think a few of them have decided to check out and just not participate in a losing battle. I mean, their constituents are furious because, for my money, we're an island and plenty of other islands should have been able to close their borders and contain variants. But because of pressure from all sorts of directions that I won't go into now for economic purposes, some corridors have been left open. And when they were, variants snuck in. And this is what's happened as a result.
Wasn't Brexit supposed to clear all that up? He says,
yeah,
facetiously.
Unfortunately, India is not a European country, so that particular variant wouldn't have made much difference, I'm afraid. Now, if it was the German variant or the Scottish variant, or sorry, the Czech variant,
that'd be a different thing.
Then perhaps it would have been a different story. Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And continuing with the international, and was mentioned in the previous article, this is from IQ Mag. Netherlands and Denmark go full capacity this summer. Successful vaccination rollouts are enabling the end of social distancing, with Dutch festivals able to go ahead at 100% capacity from July. Live events will be permitted at full capacity in the Netherlands and Denmark, pre-pandemic, respectively Europe's 5th and 8th largest live music markets, as early as this month, provided fans can produce proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test. The Dutch Minister of Economic Affairs announced that ticketed events in the Netherlands may go ahead at 100% capacity after June 30th if they require a vaccination certificate or negative test, the latter a maximum 40 hours old. Currently, a minimum distance of 1.5 meters is required between each event goer. Sorry, good luck with that. That's like the elementary school dance. It's like, okay, leave space here between the two.
Piece of paper between you and or social distancing at the airport.
The decision to lift the Netherlands' final social distancing regulations come on the back of encouraging results from Field Lab Back to Live, the world's biggest pilot event program, which revealed that the COVID-19 risk at live events is about the same as Bring It Home, when following hygiene and testing protocols. The new rules initially apply only to ticketed single-day users, though multi-day events and overnight stays will be possible from the 29th of July. In Denmark, meanwhile, up to 10,000 people will be allowed at public events as of today. And the Reuters reports that thanks to the country's COVID-19 passport, Corona Pass, which certifies that the bearer has either tested negative for the coronavirus or is immune or vaccinated. And quote, the Danish health minister says, we will be able to do everything that we have missed because we now have the epidemic under control. The loosening of restrictions initially applies only to outdoor events, with August 11th, the date when any form of assembly limit indoors or outdoors is scheduled to attend, according to the local. Additionally, there are different rules for music compared to sport and other live events. The live music industry is currently permitted only 2,000 guests for outdoor events and in sections of 500. From July 1st, it will be 2,000 in sections of 1,000, and from August 15th, there'll be 10,000 attendees, albeit in sections of 2,500. The Danish government is aiming for the Corona Pass to be phased out completely by October 1st, when it had hoped enough people will be vaccinated against COVID-19. All right. So, moving on, let's stick to stuff going on with the live sector. And this was in Polestar, and this came out on Friday. And let's talk about the shuttered venue operators grants. And it says the SVO slog venue aid trickles out as SBA grant processing lags. So this is an update as of Friday. All right. So 6 months after Congress approved the SVOG program and 2 weeks after applications began processing, venue owners and operators were just largely still glued to their computer screens waiting for award notifications from the Small Business Association. To say they're not happy is an understatement. Of the 14,000 total applications submitted to the SBA by the present time, about 5,000 came from Tier 1. Then that lost 90% or more. And those, the SBA reported only 90 have been awarded grants, while 4,661 remain in review. Quote, the SBA, whose sole purpose is to help small businesses, is demonstrating a lack of urgency and ability to execute this desperately needed emergency relief program, Audrey Fick-Schaefer, on behalf of the National Independent Venue Association, said on the 9th of June. She continued, the SBA's delay is actually driving more of our small businesses under, all while $16 billion in emergency funding waits to be administered. And so it goes on with the reported 400 SBA staff on hand to process applications. It's inexplicable to Bandit Lights founder Michael Strickland that Tier 1 awards notifications haven't been completed. Quote, with 400 people working on it at 32 and a half hours a day, they should be able to clear those in a week. I think that might have been a typo because I don't know about 32 hours in a day. But anyway, moving on, Strickland stresses that June 9th was not a hard deadline for applications to be processed, but represented the end of a 2-week period in which the SBA would process only the most desperately needed Tier 1 grant awards. After that, it was to begin work on Tier 2 applicants as well. But with the obvious backlog, there are roadblocks that need to be cleared in order to expedite the cash. So there's a roadblock. The biggest roadblock appears to be the IRS Form 4506T, the tax return transcript request that all federal grant applicants, not just those seeking SVOG, must file in order to be considered for grants. The IRS form is sent to the SBA, which manually compares the tax return information with the grant application, and it must match exactly. So they're saying the IRS is trying to hire people to process the 4506Ts, and there is a 30 to 60-day backlog, and nothing can be done about that. The best solution, he says, would be for the SBA to process grant awards without waiting on the IRS. Goes in a little more detail here. Does anybody have any updates from now, anybody that is dealing with this or has received or is waiting to receive or has even gotten the notification that they were awarded and are going into the next phase? Because there was a 2-phase. You were first received the email that you awarded, then you had to acknowledge that, then they would say, okay, we're going to start processing the actual payout.
All I can say is that I know there are a lot of folks waiting. If anybody has any experience or any insight, we would love to hear from you. Be sure that you raise your hand, join us in the chat, and let us know your insight. Join the discussion on this topic or any other.
All right. Well, speaking of live events, Lollapalooza is giving out free passes to vaccinated residents. This one is in consequence.net. And again, you can find all the headlines with the links in our show notes, and that is at musicindustrycity.com. Click on the show notes graphic, and you will be able to see everything that we talk about here, along with our playlists that we do in the Good Day Music Room on Fridays. We have monthly playlists from all the people that shout out and artists. It's always a great mix of music, and it's fantastic. And also, we do have the Daily Brief, which we just began last week, and that is on our podcast. You can also find that link to find, or you can just go to your preferred podcast player, type in Music Industry City, and you'll find it. That is a 2 to 3 minute update on what's going on, in more focused on tours, new releases, musical roundtables, musical chairs, and also some teasers for what we'll be talking about here. So it's a good way nice thing to enjoy your coffee with. It goes great with milk and cream. Milk and cream. How about milk and sugar? And I'm going to get back to the article now. All right. Lollapalooza is giving out free passes to vaccinated residents. 4 vaccination sites will be distributing tickets to the Chicago Festival. Chicago's health department announced on Friday that they'll be giving away 1,200 single-day Lollapalooza passes to vaccinated residents. Anyone who makes a vaccination appointment for June 26 at select sites will be given a complimentary pass, according to the city. Each of the 4 select vaccination sites will be distributing tickets for a different date of the festival. And Wilbur Wright College will offer passes for July 29th, and so on. There's the list who is going to be offering to where. And after being canceled last year due to coronavirus, Lollapalooza returned this year from Thursday, July 29th to Sunday, August 1st at full capacity. All sites will be administering the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, so you have to be 18 or older. Once vaccinated, residents can pick up their festival passes on July 10th at the House of Blues during a special Protect Chicago Music Series concert event, which will feature a to-be-announced Lola artist. And say how the officials are saying that the vaccination sites will be transformed into, quote, Lollapalooza experiences, complete with DJs and Lolla-branded giveaways. Appointments are required, and there's a link on the article that you can register. So if you're already vaccinated, no fear. On June 27th, Chicago's Department of Public Health will release a link to passes on their social media channels and website. I like that it's going to be, getting your shot as part of the Lollapalooza experience. You have like a DJ right next to you.
But get your beer in a plastic cup, get your vaccination, get your seat, just get your stuff, do your thing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of doing your thing, this one is again from IQ Mag, and this is female urinals developed to eliminate festival queues. And there was much rejoicing. And so solutions like La P and Pequel should ensure shorter queues, improving festival experience and boosting concession sales. I want to just point out that the thing about this article is they refer to, it's like a pitch. It's like by having these our services, you will sell more at the concession stands. That's really what this reads like. So you're going to hear that a lot. Prequel provides a quicker, greener toilet facility for women. Historically, equality at festivals has fallen over when it comes to fans answering a call of nature. While male attendees are often catered to with urinal installations, their female peers have to endure waiting times of up to 30 minutes or longer to use the facilities. However, a number of companies are addressing the situation with the introduction of female urinals designed to fastly cut queues for festival goers, which could, in turn, result in higher concession sales, with ladies able to spend more time waiting for food or drink without having to meticulously plan their day around toilet breaks. How about more time to just go enjoy the music? At the Green Events and Invention Conference in March, the order books of LePay became busier because they were talking about all these festivals with the latest operations. As a result, this pair took on a challenge of designing a better toilet solution as part of their master's degree project. So this is all started from like, a college project. So the standalone touch-free prequel units claim to be 6 times quicker to use than a locked door loo. The design is flat packed, and its developers say it's 6 times quicker to pack, as well as being made from 100% recycled material, and they produce 98% less CO2 than portable toilets. The unit can be configured in 3 ways, making it easily adaptable to different environments. And there are some, if you go to the website, and also on here, you can see what the layout looks like. It's kind of like a walk-in, almost like more of like, I guess you can say, like if you're, in the airport, and there's just like, entrance to men's and women's go to the left, men's go to the right. It's kind of this similar layout. So you can check out those. But women are happy about this one. Eli, I saw you cheering.
Well, of course, any cut down on the queue, on the time spent in the queue at the ladies' room is definitely a good thing. And I love that this has turned into almost a festival response. We certainly don't want to discredit the female festival goer who enjoys the festival experience, because it is a festival experience and doesn't want it to become a hotel experience. But I applaud this as a solution for the female concert goer, the female festival goer who wants a better restroom experience. Certainly, less wait time in the loo is a great thing.
Yeah.
Well, I also, for those without a visual access to this, because I am looking at it, again, I've been given the task of sort of using the language, the design of the receptacle, if you will, because I know it may be difficult to picture a female urinal, but the design of the receptacle is a bit more of a hover type receptacle, whereas instead of the sort of male version, this one sort of kind of sits in the middle of a sort of partitioned off area, which will definitely be quicker and probably more sanitary. Which, for those of us who count ourselves as germaphobes, my hands are both up at this stage. I like the idea of no touch, so it definitely makes it easier to not have to touch a door or a handle like a flusher, or who knows whatever else is going on in there. So kudos.
And just think, if we keep progressing in this direction, ladies, pretty soon we'll just be peeing in a hole in the ground. And how about that?
Well, yeah, I love the fact that this is like the longest discussion on any topic today. But it was going back, like, I think it was over a decade ago, the Roskilde Festival in Denmark, and they had people that go around and survey. It's like the suits, and you walk around. My good friend of mine, he produced the Orange Stage, which is the main stage, and he was taking me around the grounds, and you see these people just walk around with clipboards in suits, and you're like, they just stand out like a sore thumb. He's like, oh no, we don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. They go around, they analyze everything. And he points over, and there's a little island. So people just walking all around, there's a little island of trees, maybe like 10 trees. And they all have urinals attached to them that they would dig a little hole. And he was like, yeah, they came up with that a few years ago. It's just called pee trees. So they would just tap in urinals. So men, it was easy for men. You could just walk over and just like, hey, be right back. And there's a tree right there. And they had the pee tree. So it's good. So hopefully this something will be really much more beneficial for women. And
hopefully that does help, because as a female concert and festival goer, I deliberately don't eat or drink anything the entire day, water or anything else, because the facilities are not for me. So this is exciting.
Right. And I want to hang out with my female friends. I want to be like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. It's like, all right, so now I'll see you in a half hour. Well, we might be over on stage 2 there by then. Text me if we have service.
So just don't eat or drink.
Yes, right on. All right. And we're going to go into tech, music tech a little bit. And this is Bandcamp. And again, Bandcamp, I'm a big supporter of Bandcamp. They are a big supporter. I'm a big supporter of companies that are big supporters of other things. So Bandcamp sets second annual Juneteenth fundraiser. And it starts off with CEO Ethan Diamond saying there's still much work to be done. For the second year straight, Bandcamp will donate 100% of its shares of all sales made on the online music marketplace to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund next Friday, June 18th, the day before Juneteenth. Bandcamp's share is 15% of digital and 10% of physical sales. The donation for the holiday commemorating the emancipation of enslaved people in the U.S. will go towards supporting the NAACP legal defense funds ongoing efforts to promote racial justice through litigation, advocacy, and public education. And he goes on, the CEO says, we held our first Juneteenth fundraiser last year in response to the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the longstanding structural oppression, state-sanctioned violence, and daily racism faced by Black people and people of color, including many of our fellow employees and artists in the Bandcamp community. Bandcamp, he continued, we've been inspired by and joined in the growing call for racial justice and equity and have celebrated with many new reforms, practices, and policies that bring us closer to a world where Black people and people of color can thrive without fear of violence and oppression. And that's where he says, at the same time, we are nowhere near where we need to be, and there's still much work to be done. All right, so this is part of the fundraiser is part of Bandcamp's broader philanthropic efforts. Bandcamp has waived its share of sales on the first Friday of every month since March 20 of 2020, now dubbed Bandcamp Friday, passing along all revenue to artists and labels. The Juneteenth fundraiser will replace this month's Bandcamp Friday, and the next one happens on August 6th, after which Bandcamp Fridays will continue through the rest of 2021. In addition to organizing other fundraisers, Bandcamp now allocates $30,000 annually to partner with racial justice organizations. Thank you, Bandcamp.
This is terrific. Yeah, I mean, I hope that more companies take notice of this and do similar, better, more, because it's about time.
I can't say I like support Bandcamp enough. It's go there. You're supporting art. It's really. This is where it's like doing business for good. When you hear it's like, hey, we're going to do this for good. They've been doing this, and it's always been that, their philosophy. And, I'm a big fan, so thank you to them. All right, Apple Podcast subscriptions. They're coming this week, and what you need to know. This one is from Digital Music News. After a major delay, Apple Podcast subscriptions are finally coming later this week. Apple announced it would offer in-app subscriptions for listeners to support their favorite podcasters in May. Despite that announcement, Apple soon delayed the rollout of subscriptions until June 15th. Apple told creators the delay was to, quote, ensure we are delivering the best experience for creators and listeners. But many podcast creators say the updates to the Apple Podcast app left it broken. Creators Digital Music News spoke with say they had their episodes delayed, their analytics not working, and episode artwork disappearing. One goes on to say, quote, my login to Podcast Connect was broken for several days. Then it was okay, and now it's broken again, telling me we're setting up your account. Apple support tells them it's fixed, but it clearly isn't. Hours of being unable to access Podcast Connect, totally unable to log in. They were saying, quote, new episodes in the last week have taken hours to appear, sometimes more than 6, sometimes around 2. Another creator confirms, and they have said, we have 3 podcasts that have not been updated in Apple Podcasts since April 23rd, and they're told there's nothing else as a company we can do. Other creators say their feeds aren't updating in a timely way, and there's no way to force an update. It's a huge problem for a daily podcast, not only for the audience, but also from a revenue point of view. So Apple needed some extra time behind the scenes to get its podcast subscriptions ready. Users will be able to subscribe to their favorite podcasts to support them monetarily. Spotify announced and launched a similar feature in the same window. It has taken Apple to get its subscription feature ready, but Spotify doesn't allow iOS users to subscribe to their favorite podcast in-app to avoid the Apple tax. Apple hopes that giving listeners a way to support creators directly will encourage podcasters to stay neutral. Spotify has been gobbling up most of the major podcast production studios in multi-million-dollar acquisitions, while Apple pioneered the podcasting scene has been left to play catch-up behind Spotify. A subscription button may be the deciding factor that allows podcast creators to keep their content on both platforms. Whether the strategy is a viable one remains to be seen. And we didn't really have a Spotify spot today. It was an Apple spot with a touch of Spotify. And let me throw this back over to Eli as we start to wrap up. And if anybody has some thoughts, feel free to raise your hand and join the stage.
Definitely feel free to join the stage. We are the Music News Power Hour, and we are here from 12 to 1 Eastern each weekday, Monday through Friday. You can join the discussion by raising your hand or chiming in on chat. And if you are listening and you'd like to see what we're doing behind the scenes, be sure to join us on your favorite streaming platform or by visiting our website, where you can find out not only more information about all of our headlines, but you can find out you can tune in to watch us on stream on video. And that is musicindustrycity.com. Make sure that you raise your hand to join the discussion, ping your friends into the room, join us from 12 to 1 Eastern each weekday, and make sure that you follow your moderators on stage. These are the speakers with the green moderator icon. You can also tap the green house icon at the top of the stage to join the club and get more information. And be sure that you register for free on our website, where you can get more information about content both on and off of Clubhouse. That's musicindustrycity.com. As we move into our last word and some of our final headlines, make sure that you raise your hand or chime in the chat so that you can join the discussion. And we look forward to hearing your comments. Over to you, Peter.
Right, yeah, and thanks for that, Eli. Yes, we do have the show notes, and also if you register at musicindustrycity.com, it's for free. You get the emails that tell you about some city updates, like we rolled out the Daily Brief podcast, the weekly podcast, which is 2 to 3 minutes sound bites, I guess we could say, of what's happening in the news. We were also the mayor's office in Music Industry City has announced that they have allocated funds to open up a public library. So all the Music Industry City residents will be able to go to a knowledge-based library as a reference desk and everything that is going to be opening this fall. So lots happening there, and keep in touch. Yeah, it's going to be, there's a lot to come. And we're also doing stuff on live streaming. If there's anybody that has some final thoughts, they want to come up to the stage as we start wrapping up with about 3 minutes left. Or Elliot or Todd, I don't know if you had any thoughts about anything on the day, if there was something that stuck out for you. Angela, what would you say stuck out most for you?
Well, you mean other than the Queen not wanting to personally knight Mick Jagger? I mean, I always loved Her Majesty. I think with the news elements that we talked about today, the female urinals, that's a game changer. I love the Juneteenth Bandcamp celebration / fundraiser, and I think it's a great idea that so many of the majors are following in the footsteps of beggars and forgiving some of those artists who their unrecouped advances after all that time. I mean, it sounds like a day of people doing the right thing for a change, which is nice to hear.
I did see a post just a few minutes ago on a SVOG Facebook group that they've made some changes in the leadership at the SVOG grant in the SBA, and have brought in a bunch of people from the restaurant grant program who had been able to distribute funds very rapidly, and apparently the process is speeding up pretty dramatically right now.
That's great news.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Good
Elliot
morning,
with the
Peter.
update. Morning, Todd.
Kelly and Angela. Yeah, good morning. Happy Monday. I have my two kids right here with me as we're walking around our neighborhood. They both play Roblox, so I'm gonna be looking at that story a little bit closer to see what's in the finer details. I found that very interesting, along with the NEVA article. NEVA's been advocating since the early days of the pandemic, and as someone who interfaces with a lot of local venues, I see firsthand how they're struggling. So, any way that we can get rid of these impediments to getting these smaller venues back on their feet, or at least on the road to recovery, is certainly something that I would support. And if it means getting rid of some IRS forms and dealing with that later, then that's the way to go. It's not rocket science. Get these people their help.
I love that attitude.
Yeah, I mean, with the EIDL, there was it seemed easier for EIDL. They were rushing it out, and now that they have had I think what it is, it's bureaucracy at its finest, where they made the EIDL and it was rather simple. When I applied for my business, I got it quickly. Like everything was pretty straightforward, but there was that first rollout. They're like, oh, we got to do this again. Yeah, because I mean, they're uncharted waters. And then it was like, okay, this worked out. But I think what's happened is the bureaucrats have had time to think about it. And now they keep on saying, oh, we need to add this or we need to match. And that one of the things they talked about in the article was saying that it's all has to be manually checked. So your submission has to be manually checked against the IRS. So now you have the SBA. Now you have the IRS. None of this is going to work. And then they have to deal with the banking. It's like, I think they just kind of added that in because, part of it I also think, and I think maybe Elliot, you might have mentioned this as well, goes, they want to make sure that people aren't, cheating others out, which that was something that happened in the first round. So,
that was something that they mentioned specifically is that there was they were concerned about, the Ruth Chris steakhouses of venues that do have funding would get, more funding from the government.
Right on. All right. Thank you, everybody. This has been a great day. Great way to kick off the week. And we will see you next week. Yes. All right.
Yeah, it has. Join us here from 12 to 1 Eastern each Monday through Friday at the Music News Power Hour. And thank you so much for joining our discussion on behalf of myself, Eli Window, and our UK correspondent, Angela Randall. We thank you for being part of today's discussion and today's conversation. Make sure that you join us from 12 to 1 Eastern each day right here at the Music News Power Hour through the Music Industry City Broadcast Network, where you can join the discussion and listen in on all the headlines pertaining to the music industry that are fit to listen to and discuss. Please join me in thanking our co-host, Peter Schwing, who is our executive producer. Peter, please tell us about more of the content on musicindustrycity.com.
I covered so much of that earlier because I was rolling it. So I want to wrap up because we're a little over time. So let's just say good day, Eli, and good day, Angela. And Eli, you are off. You are off for the next 3 days?
I am off for the next couple of days, but I'm looking forward to being back at the end of the week. And I hope that everyone will tune in for the rest of the week from 12 to 1 Eastern, Monday through Friday, right here on the Music News Power Hour. I'm looking forward to being back with you when I return.
Right on. All right. We're looking forward to it. See ya. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheerio.
Cheerio. It's so good to see you. Happy Monday, everyone. I can't wait to see you again soon.